106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Hello, Chicago. I'm not Brandon Johnson. I'm deep dish pizza enthusiast Edward Heller. Here with me this evening is Jerry Vasilatos. We did have Brandon Johnson scheduled to come on tonight, and it looks like he had to reschedule on us. We know he had a forum earlier today. It was the Public Safety Forum. I did manage to get a chance to watch that. Did you get a chance to watch any of that, Jerry?
I didn't, because I was scrambling to social media to share with people he wasn't going to be here tonight because I didn't want us to mislead anyone. And yeah, I had some other business to take care of today. But, you know, I have to say also, I'm not surprised and I'm not disappointed, because when his associates originally scheduled him for tonight, we knew he had the safety forum from 4:30 to 6:30. So I'm like, well, I give him a lot of credit for, you know, wanting to bring him on, even though he's got such a tight window today. But when they said, unfortunately, he can't join us, I'm like, that's cool. We'll reschedule. I just wanted to make sure, you know, people's expectations were not dashed, and we let people know ahead of time, even though we'd set this up a few weeks ago. So hopefully his assistants will be able to like set a new date before the runoff. And we'll have those details forthcoming as soon as we have them.
Yeah, my expectations were dashed just a little bit, Jerry. I was really hoping he was going to be on tonight, but
I was too.
I get it. Look, man, stuff happens. They knew that they might have to reschedule. We kind of knew that might be a backup plan where we'd have to get him on a different date, but ideally, it would have been good to have him on tonight, because we know that early voting starts in, 6 days? I think on the 20th.
It does. Yeah. But, you know, as I've said before, we're a little show, and this man has a lot of audience he needs to appeal to. That's our audience, because we love you all. But, you know, if I were pretty worn out from campaigning in the morning and then doing a mayoral forum through 6:30, which ended an hour ago, and then he's supposed to rush home and come on with us at 8:30. I mean, I know it reflects the busy schedule he would have as a mayor, but I can be forgiving about it. So I think they're really gonna try to reschedule it. So we'll be in good shape. I know, you know, kind of conflict with the early voting thing, but if anybody even has a question in their minds as to why Vallas might be better than Brandon in this early voting, I don't know that we're going to change their minds as much as I'd like to. And that will also have a lot to do with our opening story tonight that I don't know if we found it at the same time, Ed, but
you posted that in the Slack, and I think I might have seen it, but I figured, Jerry will see this one. I didn't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, we've been joking for a long time that, you know, the only reason Paul Vallas is running is because Bernie Epton is dead, and apparently his son Jeff thinks this Vallas has been running his campaign. By the way, we should also really quickly at the top of the show thank our Patreons, Dominic Palella, Kathy Powers, Dr. Howard Ehrman, Shane Coughlin, and Joy Lucasio are our 5 patrons on our Patreon channel who support the work of the show. And we hope that many more of you, as you may be able to afford it, will be able to pitch in sometime in the future and help support us with a $5 a month membership, which everything here is free. It's just a donation. We don't expect people to pay for stuff, but any little bit helps, since our revenue here is very, very, very limited.
Like Jerry said, if you can't afford it, share the stream. Let people know we exist. That's extremely helpful.
Definitely. That's the next best thing. We got a lot of friends joining us tonight. I see Steve Wolbrandt, Extra Bulla. Hey, Warren, thanks for joining tonight. Miguel H. Justin Trowbridge is in the chat. Juan Alba, Arturo Medina. Hey, buddy, we still need to have you on as a co-host. I'm sorry I forgot to connect with you 2 Fridays ago, as we talked about. Just been a little busy. So, and Mary Amisqua. Mary Amisqua. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, dear. Thank you. So really quickly before we go into the Epton editorial and Tribune, Mary asks, "Hello, guys. Why do you think Chewie didn't make it?" Good question.
You mean into the runoff?
Yeah.
I think Chewie didn't.
Now she also shares. Wait, this is interesting too. I'm sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
But vote. The machine didn't show that my vote was in, and I didn't get any receipt either. To me, it was not accurate voting, she says. We haven't heard any other concerns like that. I'm not dismissing that, Mary. I don't know
paper ballot, and I didn't have any problems at my polling station, but it's known to happen. As far as Chewie. Yeah, as far as why you don't think Chewie made it into the runoff, well, we had our ideas on why. He was very late getting into the race. The teachers union had asked him to run. He asked, and he wanted to wait. He was weighing his options between his priorities of being in Congress and his decision to run for mayor. And so then Brandon Johnson jumped in. So, I mean, he lost a lot of support right there by deciding to get into the race late. And then it essentially became a situation where it was, voters saw what a lot of us saw, that he was doing this for himself or for the larger Democratic Party machine. So that they could hedge their bets in getting into a primary. And then they lost both bets because Lightfoot didn't get in and Chewie didn't get in.
Which was glorious.
It is. It's actually good because maybe we'll see some change in a good way. But we won't know until the runoff election is done to see which way the wind is going to blow.
I concur with Ed. I think that a lot of people who felt if he was really as committed to the city as he was for running for Congress, they would have supported him. The fact he jumped in so late, I think, was a reflection on what his priorities were. It was serving himself. He got clearly with the results that came through, we saw that his broadest base of support was on the west side, the primarily Latin and Hispanic corridor of the city. Not primarily, but it's a very, very large and Hispanic community there. So as we saw how the different neighborhoods broke down, again, a lot of people tend to vote on cultural, ethnic, racial lines. And the rest of the city was not as invested in Chewie because of his identity, I think. Not only as a Hispanic leader, but as a progressive who's kind of been swallowed by the Democratic system in Washington. I don't know that Chewie is as progressive as he was when he started in his career. And I think that people have seen through both Lightfoot and Chewie as far as being good soldiers for the Democratic establishment. And, a lot of stuff broke this week with challenges against Vallas. I just saw a video the other day where Vallas did a program, and I forgot where it was, but he identified himself as a Republican. Actually, it was during the first debate. Marianne Ahern ran that video, and he did not even acknowledge the fact he identified himself as a Republican. So Republicans and white people are behind Vallas. And I think real progressives and anybody that's worried about the working class common Chicagoan recognizes Brandon Johnson will hopefully provide more equitable leaders and the communities, not just business, as it seems Paul Vallas will.
We got constitutional
Oh, here we
conservative
go.
is in
Here
the
we
chat.
go.
Hey, Lou. Yeah, Lou, you're just learning now that the CTU had asked Chewy before they asked Brandon, or are you just trying to bust our balls here?
Well, speaking of busting balls, Ed, I am dedicating this editorial and our coverage of it regarding Jeff Epton's open letter to the Tribune. I'm dedicating this to constitutional conservative because I shared it with him earlier tonight, and he didn't really have a whole lot to offer that was useful about it. But let me open it up here on my reading screen. So, as we've said before, Vallas is running because Bernie Epton is dead, and Vallas is running on a lot of the same racial dog whistles. So Jeff Epton.
Can I read the headline though?
Please do.
As Bill Curtis.
Yes.
Jeff Epton, an open letter to Paul Vallas.
It's very good.
Learn from my dad, Bernard Epton, and pivot to a different message. By Jeff Epton.
All right. This goes out to you, Lou. Because Lou just dismissed this. Who cares what Jeff Epton thinks? And I told Lou, Lou, you would have voted for Epton had you been of age back in '83. So please. All right. So here's what Jeff Epton shares with the Tribune and all of their readers and what we're sharing with all of you. I understand how you must feel right now. Now, this is an open letter to Paul Vallas. I understand how you must feel right now. The possibility of being the mayor of Chicago, this massive, shiny, and troubled metropolis, is likely intoxicating. I know my father, Bernard Epton, known as Bernie, had such feelings in 1983. The way popular history characterizes him now, a consequence of his role in the '83 campaign against Harold Washington, is not who he was in the years leading up to that election. In 1950, my father ran for Congress in the Republican primary against Richard Vail, then a former congressman and a red-baiting, race-baiting echo of the notorious, of the notorious Wisconsin Senator Joseph McCarthy. Among Bernie's supporters in that race were leading South Side black ministers such as Archibald Carey Sr. Dad also received the endorsement of the Chicago Defender, perhaps the country's most prominent time, but he lost that race. In 1968, after the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in Memphis, Tennessee, rioting in Chicago's South and West Sides caused extensive damage that still scars the city neighborhoods 55 years later. At the time, Dad was a candidate for an open Republican seat in the Illinois House of Representatives. During that campaign, he took the time to go to Memphis to join the Memorial March for King, organized and led by the Memphis Sanitation Workers Union. So, I will say, this does paint a little bit more of a sympathetic portrait to Bernie Epton, not so much the public figure that we saw in Punch 9 for Harold Washington, which really just covered his time during the '83 campaign, running on dog whistles because Washington won the Democratic primary amongst.
It does.
Against
it does get there and further on in the article.
Yes, it will. Yeah, no, I know, but I'm just commenting on what we saw in that movie because my perception of Epton is he a closet racist that he's doing this, that he jumped in as a Republican because Byrne and Daley split the white vote in Chicago, because that is what happened. So, of course, it was interesting at that time to see all the Democrats, the forward-leaning Democrats, decide to get behind Epton because of the color of his skin. Anyway, after the march, Epton returned to Chicago, resumed his campaign, and won the beginning of 14 years of service as a Republican representative from Hyde Park. Twice during those 14 years, the independent voters of Illinois named him the state's best legislator. By late fall in 1982, when Bernie decided to run for the Republican nomination for mayor of Chicago, his reputation earned over 40 years of political activism as a supporter of open housing, an opponent of redlining, and an ally of the black community and of anti-machine Chicago voters was well established. But in the '83 campaign against Washington, Dad became the champion for white supremacists citywide. The campaign was characterized by recurring racist incidents. Two facts stand out. First, of course, was the historic Washington victory, due largely to a strategically mobilized black community. But the second most striking feature of the campaign was Dad's slogan, quote, "Epton, before it's too late." Dad claimed often and always that the slogan meant that the city was teetering on bankruptcy and he was the guy to rescue it before it collapsed. Some family members and lifelong political supporters took him at his word, but everyone else in Chicago who gave a damn about such things knew the slogan for what it was, a dog whistle, beckoning white voters to the ramparts. And many of those white voters would have shrugged away any criticism. To them, it didn't really matter what it meant. Bernie was their guy. He was the white hope. And by the way, how many times have we heard that phrase being used to characterize Vallas? A couple times I've seen in media. I think it was in the Tribune's original endorsement of I was going to say Bernie Epton, Paul Vallas. They look the same. Imagine what it took for my dad to play that role. The Bernie Epton who had been a colleague of Timule Black and Harold Washington in the creation of a Chicago-focused Henry Wallace for President Committee in 1948, and then walked in the Memphis Memorial March for MLK in 1968, had somehow transformed 15 years later into the George Wallace of Chicago. And he had brought it on himself. The legacy of his campaign would be an empowered white majority on the city council that opposed every Washington reform initiative for the next 4 years. Chicago's bitter power struggles would earn the city a reputation as Beirut by the lake. That, too, would be something that would forever be associated with Dad's name. So consider now, before this campaign goes any further, your, quote, let's take Chicago back message. This message is landing as a dog whistle, only slightly less shrill than, quote, Epton before it's too late. Stop saying that it means something else. The senders of messages don't get to dictate their meaning. Ultimately, the audience decides. Do what my dad did not do. Pivot to a different message, one that unites, that envisions a single city unified in its pursuit of equity and justice. Hit the message hard, even if it costs you a victory, because no victory is worth the price of your reputation. And no victory is worth the price Chicago would pay if a Vallas victory depended on an appeal to white supremacists. Jeffrey Epton grew up in the South Shore and graduated from Hyde Park High School in 1965. He ran for and won a seat in 1983 on the Ann Arbor City Council in Michigan, winning his race 8 days before his father lost his election to Harold Washington. A poet and writer, Epton lives in Bronzeville.
And this article was published 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I think he's several months late on this letter, it feels like to me.
Well, maybe late, but still relevant as far as people look. It came in before early voting, right?
The perspective is important. I'm glad he wrote it. I'm just saying I wish he had wrote it a long time ago. Although maybe not, because if he had actually taken his advice, it might have given him an edge. And we know that he's got way more problems than his dog whistles.
I think, too, though, from the Jeff Epton that I saw in that documentary, Punch 9 for Harold Washington, I think that family's still traumatized by the legacy that now stains the Epton name.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I haven't really heard much from the Epton family since '83, aside from seeing them interviewed in that movie where Jeff Epton was literally in tears because he claimed that his family knew at the time that what his father was doing was a racist dog. At that point, it was like no holds barred as far as trying to rally a vote so that white population of Chicago had the edge in continuing Alien Burns agendas. Oh, by the way, I want to also we have a super chat. Thank you from Steve Wolbrandt in Los Angeles. Steve, good luck to Chicago from Los Angeles. Thank you for that $4.99 super chat. Why is it not popping? There we go.
I got it.
Thank you. I'll actually be in Los Angeles at the end of the month working on a project. I haven't been there for quite a while. I lived there for 10 years, so it'd be good to be back in town again. Thanks, Steve. Yeah, I think that there's, a lot to unwrap there. I will say this. From the credentials that Bernie's son Jeff presented in that editorial, I see Bernie Epton did a lot more than I see Paul Vallas has done in his privatization spree from city to city, basically breaking down funding that should go into public education to benefit his charter school buddies. And we talked about this last Friday with our guest, Erica Nanton. The fact that all schools should have all the appropriate kind of funding to make sure all kids across the city and all are getting an equal and the same education. Why should taxpaying parents have to spend more money sending their kids to a private school that enriches companies and shareholders, as opposed to seeing that money is properly spent across all neighborhoods and all schools so that all kids get the same quality of education? I grew up on the North Shore. I was very privileged and lucky, and I'm grateful to my parents that they did raise us in Wilmette so that we had the benefit of the suburban school system and going to New Trier High School. But there's no irony lost on the fact with me that, there's a reason that a lot of families move to suburbs so that their kids get better educations. And I ask, why should kids in suburbs get better educations than kids in urban areas? Shouldn't all children receive the benefit of the same strong education? Why does somebody like Vallas have to go into cities and privatize it? And by the way, he left, was it New Orleans? He left New Orleans in shambles. There have been a lot of editorials regarding the mess that he left there, as well as the mess he left here when he was serving as CEO of public schools and also was involved in, I guess, budgets that left us with deficits that ended up raising taxes here in Chicago, although he's denied that. So I guess my point is Vallas does not have the background of integrity that Jeff Epton presents for his father at all. The fact that he's a carpetbagger that decided to rent a bachelor pad in Bridgeport while his wife is taking care of his sick in-law, his sick father-in-law, I think it is, parents in Palos Heights, where his taxes. I'll tell you, when Paul Vallas loses this election, and I hope he does, he's just going to pack up his bag and go to another city. Look at the list of all of his donors. It's hedge funds, it's companies. He has the support of a few unions. Yeah, that's true. Most prominent, the Fraternal Order of Police, which is the big dog whistle that's being
and then the other unions are basically hoping that, or at least their union leaders are hoping that they're going to get some good city contracts.
Yep.
That's why they're supporting.
And what's with the demonization of the Chicago Teachers Union? That union, those workers are relied on to take care of your children during the day and educate them. The fact that they've been demonized and vilified as they have while people are embracing the privatization of Chicago with Vallas's voters. Now, one of the main questions we were going to lead, we weren't going to lead with it. We were actually going to lead with the public bank question when we get Brandon Johnson on the show. But we did want to speak to the fact that, how do you basically assert that the unions and CTU are not going to control you? Not that, by its face, it's like, I'm not upset about unions guiding Johnson because they're looking out for the interests of working Chicagoans, right? Brandon Johnson's going to have to balance the interests of business comes into the city to fiscally support us, as well as make sure that our residents and neighbors across all wards are equitably served. I see Johnson with the support of unions, which are comprised of working class Chicagoans, probably being the better influence on him than Vallas, who will come in and be, Rahm 3.0, following in the footsteps of Rahm Emanuel and Lori Lightfoot, who, by the way, her fucking NASCAR race here in Chicago has completely usurped all of the other summer activities people are used to her. We're stuck with it, as well as being stuck with the Chicago Fire taking over that CHA land, but that we'll talk about later. Yeah. Those are manifestly examples of the type of privatization and only serving big business that we see. CHA, that's supposed to provide affordable housing for people that were marginalized and put out, provided that replacement housing for decades, has given land millionaire for not even a soccer stadium, a fucking facility, okay, a training facility, where they're going to also have a museum around there that that celebrates and talks about the CHA's history. Remember we talked about that last week? It's astounding. It's astounding that people think privatization, let's embrace it, man. Big business, we have it for rich people. They work hard. Yeah, at the expense of the burden on everybody else's back and the tax burden everyone else has to support, because these rich, wealthy corporations and privatized companies are really the biggest beneficiaries of socialism, because they get all the breaks, they get all the opportunities at the expense of the working class residents of the city of Chicago, period. And Johnson being supported by working class unions, it still blows my mind that people think that's a bad. We have so many people struggling, can't even earn a fair living wage, and unions are there to protect it. And for everybody to think, all the unions are bad, they've all been infiltrated. Sure, there are bad actors everywhere, but I'll tell you where the worst actors are: in all of these corporate hedge fund banking interests, privatizing interests that are donating to Paul, I was going to say Bernie Epton, Paul Vallas, and don't want to be known. Why would they want to hide their support for Vallas if there was anything trustworthy about their support of him? They're all doing it because they all expect him to get in and carve up the city to serve their fiscal interests, not our interests. I've gone on too long. I'm sorry, Ed.
No, you're perfectly right on that.
No, they should not be allowed to choose through a voucher system. Our taxes pay for schools citywide. Every kid should get you know what? Here's the solution to your voucher system argument, Lou. Move to the suburbs. There's your voucher system. If you're not happy with the education, and you don't even have kids, but you have a niece, we have a niece. If you're not satisfied with the education system that our niece would get here in Chicago, then she should be going to suburbs. But I also continue to argue, why should suburban schools be offering better educations to kids than schools in the city? Parents should be allowed to choose a voucher system which schools their kids. We need
the only reason why you want choice is because they do not currently properly support the public school system. This is a decades-long effort by corporate and privatizing interests to make public schools look terrible and to make it look like they're failing and to put all the blame on the teachers instead of the people who keep sabotaging the school system. This is not new.
Our public servants, right?
This is. I mean, we had they had on the public safety forum I was watching from earlier today, where Brandon was able to show up. They had Arnie Duncan on there talking for about 5 minutes. That guy,
piece of shit.
He's probably connected to half of the privatizers who have been trying to sabotage. You say sabotage.
I say sabotage.
Our public school system. So, this is just right-wing talking points you're absorbing and regurgitating right here, Lou. Do you realize that you're being fed propaganda and you are properly trained to repeat it right into our live chat? Do you understand that that's what's been going on in your brain? People are just saying these things to you, and you're going, yeah.
I also see Arnie Duncan running all over the South Side, Ed, acting like he's a friend to South and West Side neighborhoods. He's a snake. He's a neoliberal snake, just like Rahm Emanuel was, and sorry to our black viewers, just like Barack Obama is, okay? Both of those neoliberal failures, part of the reason why, everybody thought when Barack Obama became president, there was going to be more equity. Forget it. Why do you think we got stuck with Rahm Emanuel here in Chicago? It was a continuation of a national neoliberal agenda. And for people that don't know what neoliberalism, go look it up. And by the way, do you know who initially presented neoliberalism in our society? Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher, two conservatives. Go look it up. Constitutional conservative. I've actually shared it with a constitutional conservative before. And you know what? Since we're always addressing the counterpoints of constitutional conservative, I think perhaps we should have him on the show sometime so we could argue this stuff in person, because I don't want to feel that it's unfair that we're only his comments and rebutting them.
I'm happy to have Lou on, and we can talk about pizza, and we can talk about the brainwashing of the mainstream media outlets, both on the blue and the red side. And we can talk about how it's probably a good idea to shut stuff off because it's melting your brain.
Because I really don't want to feel like I'm beating constitutional conservative up. He's just wrong. You were just repeating talking points that you get from the news, from a slanted agenda news that wants to continue vilifying teachers. The real problem is constitutional conservative talks all the time about crony capitalism. Right now, all capitalism is crony. Okay, we live in a crony capitalist society. Although, crony capitalism was pretty much enabled by capitalism to begin with.
And a lot of people who think they're capitalists are really just merchants. They don't, and once you wrap your head around that, you start realizing that the capitalists are taking advantage of you.
And the other thing, too, is a lot of people who worship capitalism like it's a religion, they have this delusion that if they continue worshiping capitalism and supporting this system that oppresses them, that it's going to protect them. I call them temporarily inconvenienced millionaires. We all want to make a fair living wage. We all want to be wealthy. We all want to be able to support ourselves. Personally, if I ever got that opportunity, it would not be to hoard wealth. It would be to live a comfortable life and do what I can to help people where I could. And you know what? I'm going to also pay constitutional conservative a compliment, despite the fact, he likes to come in here and troll and trigger us with his conservative talking. I've personally witnessed constitutional conservative, pulling money out of his pocket to help a panhandler in front of a 7-Eleven, right? So I'm like, whoa, aren't you going to tell him to pick him up by his bootstraps? Because constitutional conservative is fiscally and financially stable. And he recognizes it's important to offer a hand out, not a hand up. I'm sorry, and offer a hand up, not a hand out. So when I constantly hear these regurgitated talking points, knocking unions, perceiving that everybody has the same opportunities that he or a lot of us have without walking in the same shoes that Erica Nanton talked about last Friday night regarding the communities that she grew up in from Chicago and the disparities and the differences in bubbles. And yeah, you can live in the city of Chicago, constitutional conservative, and see the bad stuff around you, but it's not as bad in the neighborhoods where a lot of crime comes from because of desperate people, because those parts of the city have been completely abandoned. And again, going into our whole, ad nauseum every time, defund the police doesn't mean create anarchy. It means reallocate the resources. Paul Vallas talking about reallocating resources. And that's another question we've got for Brandon Johnson when he comes on. Talking about that issue. How is he going to bridge the gap of trust with the Chicago Police Department, since they're supporting Vallas, to initiate a public safety plan that is actually going to not only protect Chicagoans, but not overfund the police department so we can get to those root causes that are feeding into crime.
I just wanted to make this point because it was a thing I heard on the public safety forum earlier. Brandon Johnson clarified about the defund comment that he's made in the past. He said it was a policy. It's not his policy. He's been pretty clear about how reallocating the resources and making sure, to support the communities. And well, he says it better. There's a link in the show notes at the top of the show notes for the video for the forum. Please watch it and get an idea on where he's coming from, because I think he's getting a lot better at explaining where he's going with all of this. And I would support it if I were you and I wanted to fix this city.
I think I just realized my lighting issue. My garbage can hit the plug. That's why it reset. Oh. Sorry for that. Okay. Nuclear. We were Ed and I were getting ready for the show, and I didn't have my light wasn't on, and it looked like it looked like a horror movie with the way I was lit. But this thing is like flickering in and out because of the. I think the plug on the floor accidentally kicked it the wrong way. Anyway, yeah, Ed, you're absolutely right. That's a gotcha moment that people are using to play against him all the time.
And it's kind of ridiculous to use it. And all it really is just another dog whistle. It's just giving people another talking point to throw at him. And it's red meat for reporters is what it is, for people hosting forums and stuff, because like all they have to do is bring up those two or three words. 3 words, defund the book. Yeah, 3 words. And then he's got to go on the defensive, right? So
I'm the same way. I can never like do a quick simple addition in my head. I gotta stop and recalculate.
1 + 2 is 22. No.
Kathy Powers shares some breaking news. Biden signed a gun safety executive order. I haven't seen national news. So did you follow this, Ed? What's that about on a quick
I heard something on the morning news about it, and I'm sure he did a live stream talking about what he's doing, and it'll probably make it a little harder to get a gun or something about needing to do extra background checks. And it's probably a very small effort to try and reduce access to people who might have mental illness or some other reason why they probably shouldn't have a gun right now. Or at least, somebody should run a check and say, look, this guy is out of his mind. He's clearly has murderous intent. Maybe we should let him cool off before considering the possibility he might want an assault rifle.
Unless you have a rich father who can make sure that they don't do your background check and you live in Highland Park, so you can give your mentally ill son a FOID card so he can go get not only automatic rifles, semi-automatic, and what do they call them? Assault rifles, but also make bombs that he didn't use in the Highland Park 4th of July parade. Thankfully, the bombs were. But that's an example. That's your perfect poster boy for that.
And the only reason he didn't use them was because they were too heavy.
And he's lazy.
Wow. I mean, guys, let's help the kids before the kids get out of control and do things that everyone will regret.
And you know what I always say? Legislate the fucking ammunition. Ammunition is not guaranteed in the Second Amendment of the Bill of Rights. It's not.
You know who also made that comment years ago was Chris Rock in his stand-up bad. I think he said something about making bullets like $5,000 a piece or something.
I remember that. Not about legislating ammunition, but about making the ammunition expensive. I do remember that. Yeah. That's not a bad idea either.
Nearly impossible. But then rich people are just going to go on a shooting spree. Do we want that?
No. By the way, quick comment from the chat. Yeah, art, equality, and education. Yeah. If we keep going this way.
Not with that attitude, mister. Look, we got to try.
Yeah.
We can't just keep cutting budgets and doing all the math and figuring out what works in our calculator brains, to fix the city, a systemic city problem of education. You got to give these kids every opportunity to succeed and the support we possibly can.
And imagine how much crime will go down if you do that instead of overfunding the police. Where Pilgrim shares, the way it works in Canada is that you generally can enroll anywhere within the city limits. It's not a case of being limited to where you happen to live. That's for public schools anyway.
So it's going to work. It works somewhere, right?
Look at this.
Maybe it could work here.
God. Sebastiano, haven't seen you before. Thanks for joining. Story on Reddit. Woman shotgunned her son in the backseat of her car, drove home, stopped by the cops. She had blood in her hair. She said it was pulling out her tampon.
What?
Cops believe her and took her home. God. Found kid in the trunk there. Bits of him, at least. With her record, she should have never had custody. She did it to spite the father. Let me guess. Was she white? Sebastiano, do you know if what race she was? I'm just curious if this feeds into
regardless
way, it's awful.
Of that, it's terrible.
No, but my point here, Ed, is that the cops gave her a pass. Okay, how often I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe yeah, she was. Yep, there you go. Now, do you think if a black woman driving a car who was stopped by the cops and had blood all over her would believe that she was pulling out a tampon story?
No, because we have an institutionally racist police system in our country.
Thank you. Yep.
And it's not a hot take for me to say that.
Nope. Should we move on to our next story?
It's depressing, though.
It's horrible.
Really, yeah.
And this is what we're screaming about all the time. You know, when we saw the news here in Chicago a couple days ago, this horrible story about a woman being stabbed to death on the L platform, I was reading on social media. I was just waiting for people to start, dog whistling. It was a black murderer. No, it was the woman's boyfriend, and they were either white or Hispanic. But I couldn't help but think, oh, this is going to be something that Vallas seizes upon in his, Make Chicago Safer campaign. He's just not going to be able to.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, that's what they do.
You expect him to.
I'm not saying that they're causing these stories to happen, but you'll notice that around times where they want people to support a candidate who's tough on crime, you'll see them covering a whole lot more news stories on crime. And I wonder if that's on purpose.
Hey, look at this great development. There were so many calls to the Board of Elections that there will be polls in the city colleges, thanks to Erica Nanton organizing.
Oh, nice job.
That's awesome.
Well done. Good job.
That's the power of organizing, not continuing to sit on the fence and tease who you're going to endorse this election. I'm not going to say who, but I saw another announcement that there's going to be a big tweet tomorrow morning regarding who another candidate endorses. And you know what?
Who
We're
cares?
not going to be covering it, and we don't care anymore.
Yeah, your 15 minutes are up, dude. Sorry. You snooze, you lose. You should have learned that from Chewy.
Yeah, sadly. And we invited certain candidates to come on and talk with us last Friday about this. And, we received some ire afterwards because they weren't pleased with the broadcast. And it's like, you know what? This is a conversation. This is a bunch of people talking with each other. It's not judgment. It's not criticisms. It's let's talk about this and figure things out and understand things. And when you're invited to come on, if you know that you're going to have somebody potentially criticizing you on the program or holding you accountable, wouldn't you want to come on and explain why you believe you're right? And they could have, but they didn't want to. And I like in the wake of the 40-minute broadcast last Friday talking about not wanting to make an endorsement. So anyway.
I know we can get off on rants here, but I like to think generally our conversations tend to be on the constructive side.
Yeah,
when it comes to criticism,
especially
kind of analysis.
Especially people we actually respect and admire for a lot of reasons. But you can respect and admire somebody, but have an unfortunate disappointment in them when a new fact emerges that kind of challenges your view of who you thought they were and how you thought they'd lead. I've made many mistakes in my life that way. I voted for Barack Obama the first time. And when I saw he couldn't find his comfortable walking shoes to go join the union organizers in Minnesota on the picket lines, and I saw how he had abandoned those that he promised he was going to enact a lot of progressive policies for. And when I saw during the big healthcare reform that they started at public option and went down to like a big wet sloppy kiss on the ass of the insurance companies instead of starting with Medicare for all and negotiating down to public option, it told me everything I needed to know about him. And I quickly pivoted. There's a saying, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. Yeah. You can hear what they say in the beginning and want to see the best in them, but when they show you who they are, then you can change course. I get into this argument all the time with my constitutional conservative, who's my cousin, which is why we reference and talk and debate a lot here, is that at a certain point, if your beliefs and views are challenged with other facts, you don't stay the course off the cliff. You pivot and you course correct. And I've done that. Sadly, unfortunately, I've been disappointed in a lot of people that I saw the best in. And I have, pivoted and said, well, I wish them the best. Obviously, there was something about them that attracted me to begin with, as far as their policy platforms and what they espoused and who they claimed that they were. But once I saw things that showed me who they were, and I had the right to either offer constructive criticism, challenge, and just request a discussion or expect that they could prove to me why the things I was disappointed in were invalid based on how they could explain their positions. And more often than less, they don't. So that's that.
All right. Before we get into our next story, good news. Yes. Kathy says she'll be registering students Friday in the morning at Truman College. All right. Sounds good.
Art also shares the woman who told the cops who had stabbed her before she... Oh, my goodness. This is about the Chicago victim. The woman told the cops who had stabbed her before she died. I thought this was about the woman with the shotgun death that Sebastiano was sharing. Jesus Christ. This is awful.
Man.
Sorry to hear that.
We got a $2 tip from Dominic on Rockfin.
Thank you, Dominic.
He says the CTU leaders, their members, and all working class voters need to learn how government works. If they elect politicians that have sole control over the city treasury, they will spend their tax dollars as they please. If they want to be involved in how the city spends their tax money, constituent polling is a way to have a voice in these decisions. And you can find his website at constituentpolling.org. That's a new domain name for Dominic's website, which was previously called independentvoterparty.org. And I believe it still forwards over there. So constituentpolling.org.
By the way, I saw Cam Buckner on social media, on Twitter, heading back down to Springfield, continuing to push forward with the ranked choice voting initiative, which is good to see. I hope we have that opportunity in future elections. Kathy, thank you for the $1 super chat. We have retired the Lori Lightfoot memes since last Friday's broadcast. We don't want to offend anybody. So thank you for the $1 super chat. We'll have to figure out a new way to toss something out there for the $1 support that you always very graciously offer.
Oh, but we can give her this in place.
Yes!
What?
It was at maybe half of one. Maybe we need to give her another.
All right, Kathy, one last time. This is being retired before St. Patrick's Day. So we'll give you one more, but understand that, we want to make sure we're not. There you go.
So, yeah, we have to be sensitive to our leprechaun viewers.
That's right. Because we don't want to be mischaracterized as something we're not.
So we can no longer mock them for the rainbows and searches for pots of gold.
Yes.
So that's over. We're not doing that anymore.
Look at this. Look at this. You want to talk about a troll, a leprechaun troll.
Oh man. If they let us on The View, we would destroy them.
That's right.
They would run screaming out of the studio because with their fingers in their ears going la 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 la, because they don't want to listen to the truth.
But then we'd be accused of. Then we would be identified as misogynists, though.
And mansplainers too.
And mansplainers.
Don't forget.
Because mansplainers, men are not supposed to have an opinion.
Also, we're Russian hackers too. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Well, Kathy, up till taking away his secret identity on the show, I've always had other people tell me, you and your cousin, you ought to do a talk show together. I'm like, I don't want people to know we're related. No, he's got a good heart. He just tends to put on isn't this all performative though? Sometimes, I pull out the booze bottle now and then. It's a prop. Yeah. I'm not a big drinker. And yes,
and just so everyone knows, I'm still on the fence about voiceovers and character impressions, because I know just by being a fan of animated shows, I'm a little more aware of what voice actors have to go through and the ins and outs of whether it's appropriate to do a certain type of voice, or whether you're doing an impression of a celebrity or a politician, or you're doing some type of offensive caricature or offensive stereotype that's beyond the pale. And we understand that sometimes it's best not to make that effort if you think it's going to be the latter rather than the former.
I never imagined it could be the latter, because I've never looked at Lori Lightfoot's color or identity. I could care less. If she was white, I would be making fun of her. Hey, look, we make
the
fun
truth
of
is, the truth is, it's like, we try to do impressions of a lot of public figures, and usually it has to do more with how they sound, like a raspy voice or a Southern accent, but not anything that I would consider racially offensive. But if somebody is noticing that, I think it's good for us to at least be aware that it might be.
And we have to be respected. And we have to be sensitive to it. Because Kathy says if you were black, it would be okay. Yeah, I guess so. But honestly, though, Kathy, if we're going to make that statement, then where's the equity? Where's the equity? I mean, I have no problem with people of color imitating or mocking white politicians or celebrities or whatever. I mean,
and when you come from like a comedy background too, comedians will be on stage all the time doing impressions of people who aren't the same color as them. And what are they going to do? Completely revise their act when they want to do a joke about a public figure and pretend to do their voice when there's not the same color? I don't know.
Comedy is politically
complicated.
Comedy on its face is politically incorrect. I recall Eddie Murphy imitating a white guy, and I used to laugh my ass off. But I do understand, too, that it doesn't push the same buttons for white people that it does for black people, because unfortunately, black people have suffered under a very, very oppressive, racist, and prejudiced persecution for generations. So I get that. Erica made a very good point. I just, reiterate, we were never doing Lori Lightfoot impressions, for any reasons to unfortunately trigger sensitivities in some of our black supporters and viewers. So we apologize for that.
And that being said, if we ever do decide to have someone do a voice impression of Brandon Johnson, we'll have to invite Erica back on to do it for us. And I'm sure she'd be happy to.
By the way,
you don't even have to sound like him. Just come on and say, "Hi, I'm Brandon Johnson."
I invited Lisa Beasley to the show last year I think it was even before we started doing our Lori Lightfoot riffs, because I saw her on social media. She is the premier Lori Lightfoot comedian impersonator.
Yeah, she's hilarious. She's great.
I got crickets from her, and that's fine. She doesn't want to, no big deal. But I did want to make the point. I actually thought about reaching out to a black comedian, female comedian, to possibly join us. Because when I saw her stuff on social media, I'm like, this is hilarious. It would be so great to get a Lori Lightfoot impersonator on the show, but didn't come to pass. So I think the whole Lori Lightfoot thing just kind of like happened naturally as we were reading articles, because we're so used to her very condescending, raspy voice. That's how it's evolved.
It's literally just, after a late night of booze and cigarettes, this is your voice. And she doesn't even have to try. It's just like that.
Specifically Modelo.
Yeah, now we know it's Modelo.
We saw that picture of her coming out of the Walgreens with the case of Modelo one time.
Hey, I don't hate Modelo. That's pretty decent beer.
I love this. Kathy Powers pay her. We can't pay ourselves, Kathy.
I can pay her in pizza, but
by the way, when people ask where the YouTube super chats are going to, or the Patreon support, that's not coming to us. That's coming to StreamYard costs $475 annually to run this high definition as best we can present to you with production values. So that's the money that we're trying to raise to just, pay those expenses. But I wouldn't want to ask her to come on regularly if we couldn't pay her. But as I mentioned to Erica last Friday, Erica's welcome to come here whenever she wants to talk about anything she wants. I don't expect her to come on regularly because we can't pay people, at least not at this point. We have some ideas on how to grow our channel and do stuff, but that'll be forthcoming as we figure that out.
Yeah. So, I guess we're going to get into the grants, right?
Yes, the Cook County Grow Grant that impacted Kira and myself as we own small businesses. And we were wondering, how in the hell do you solicit applications from small businesses across the city of Chicago in Cook County in September? In January, say, oh, we're going to put off the decisions till the end of February. Then in February claim, oh, we're sorry, we were unprepared and there's new federal funding coming in and we're going to basically rescind the grant offer, toss out all the applications that people have been waiting for 6 or 7 months to see if they qualified. And, just stick around and come back and visit our website. We'll tell you more later without any other details. Well, that seemed to me, as we have discussed in previous shows.
Hanky. What does that mean, Vince? Hanky.
Oh, strange.
Weird. Why don't you say strange or weird? Hanky, that has no meaning.
Always say hanky.
I don't want you guys using words around me that got no meaning.
So I personally reached out to the Cook County Grow Grant people and asked them, who made this decision? Fiscal spending is generally like figured out a year ahead of time. So for you to say that now suddenly there's 2023 funding that you're going to give out and didn't calculate that into the 2022 offer is bullshit. Who made the decision? Why? Why can't you just roll over the applications that have already been submitted into the new funding if you're going to have more funding? Well, interestingly enough, I didn't get a response from them. And I posted it on social media and I tagged a lot of other people that talked about the original Grow Grant when it was offered last September. Now, WirePoints shares Cook County scuttles allegedly discriminatory grant program while hiding the issue. They weren't even transparent enough to explain why they rescinded the grant, and they're basically using the excuse because it's in court. Well, you can explain why it's in court, can't you? To news people. Now, Mark Glennon, I give you a lot of point over at WirePoints. Thank you for digging this up. And also, I think it was on NBC5. You know what, Ed? While I read this article, can you look Cook County Grow Grant videos? There is a video that I saw 2 days ago that we can run after this.
Yeah, let me look that up.
Okay. So in October, we described as legally suspect a new program announced then by Cook County called Source Grow for cash grants to historically excluded businesses. The county defined them as, quote, those owned by entrepreneurs of color, women, veterans, LGBTQ+, and persons with a disability to close racial, wealth, and opportunity gaps. You know what? That's not a bad thing, although it shouldn't have limited the Grow Grants to just that. So I can understand why some claim that this could have been discriminatory. First of all, to define it as such is discriminatory. And, all small business entrepreneurs, if they qualified, should have benefited from this within a certain income bracket. I see a lot of the entrepreneurs and small businesses in the past that have gotten these grants, like, multi-million-dollar businesses plus who aren't really suffering. These grants should be offered to businesses that are struggling, that don't have the huge revenue that multi-million-dollar businesses have. But I digress. It was this grant opportunity to close racial wealth and opportunity gaps was funded with federal money from the American Rescue Plan. Sure enough, a class action lawsuit followed. The county was sued in December for alleged discrimination against grant applicants who weren't in the preferred groups, such as reported Thursday by the Cook County Record, and the county has now shut down the program. Now, this was reported March 11th, although the program was shut down, and we those of us who applied didn't find out till the last day of February. The attorney with Pacific Legal Foundation who represented the plaintiff told the Cook County Record, we had asked the judge to preliminarily enjoin the county from distributing the funds using the guidelines they identified. In response, the defendants got rid of the entire program. But you would never know that from what the Cook County said about why they ditched the program. Frustrated applicants, Kira, have been directed to a web page that says nothing about the lawsuit. Instead, it says this: Cook County launched the Grow Grant to provide small businesses impacted by COVID with capital funding and business advising services. With the availability of additional funding in 2023, Cook County plans to announce an expanded small business grant program. As a result, Cook County has rescinded the Grow Grant effective today. What? Why don't you just roll over? Obviously, if there's more funding, there are going to be more opportunities. Why would you toss out all the other applications that you've collected since September? That doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. If anything, there's going to be more work, more time wasted, more money wasted on the fact that they're going to basically, it sounds like, just re-offer the program later after all the wasted time and effort that's gone into the initial offer. Cook County Board President Sugar Queen Tony Preckwinkle was also evasive, saying this to CBS Chicago. My understanding is that the suit was brought against us for the way in which we propose to distribute those grants. And we are working with the court to figure out a way in which we can get the money out of businesses that need it in a way that meets the court's requirements. Ms. Preckwinkle, it's not hard to, quote, figure out a way to make the grants in a way that meets the court's requirements. Just don't discriminate. Heed the words of Chief Justice John Roberts. The way to stop discrimination on the basis of race is to stop discriminating on the basis of race. Preckwinkle also told CBS Chicago, what we're trying to do is make the case for a national commitment in a case for guaranteed income. Universal basic income is Preckwinkle's crusade. No strings attached cash handouts, as Cook County is already giving out. Good luck with that. The federal money needed it. The federal money needed for it won't last, and a discriminatory program is no way to make the case for it. Now, clearly, Wire Points is more right-wing and conservative leaning. I don't know that Mr. Glennon understands the need for a universal basic income is actually quite important, even if Preckwinkle is not looking to distribute it with the right kind of a program. But those that brought this class action lawsuit ended up screwing a lot of small business owners that did qualify for this, regardless of their identification. When I applied for it, I didn't really realize until afterwards, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm a person with a disability. Maybe that will get them to consider, disabled-owned businesses having a little bit of a rougher time than one of these multi-million-dollar businesses that doesn't really need the money. But then again, I always imagine that they're looking at the revenue that a company is earning to determine who really needs the grant money the most to grow their business or to help get through what the pandemic has wrought. So, but it really strikes me as being very disingenuous for the Cook County Grow Grant and their website to not explain transparently why they rescinded the grant and to be so evasive and create all this suspense, like, come back to our website later and we'll tell you more later. It's like, no, tell us more now. I don't know that many small business owners were depending on that grant because they didn't know if they were going to get it. But certainly it had to figure in, and I can speak personally, that there would have been opportunities to take care of debt and be able to put more into manufacturing to grow a business than we now have the resources for. So anyway, that's the update on that.
Yeah, I'm sorry to say I cannot locate any videos.
Actually, I think it's linked. Let me look real quickly, and I'll send it in the live chat. Because it's interesting, even the news reporter said they were having a hard time getting to the bottom of things. Give me a second, Ed. And
I mean, they really make it hard to find information now.
Isn't it? That's also quite suspect, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why would you want to hide all that? Because something about it was hinky. All right. You know what it was? I needed to look in the search results for the past week. That's how the results came back. And let me look in videos. Wow. The CBS, that's weird. The CBS video that I saw is suddenly not showing up.
That's hinky.
Why would that suddenly disappear from search results? And that's how I found it a few days ago. But that was in my Safari browser. Let me look at my Safari browser history and see if I can find that link one more time.
Yeah.
Any comments worth going over in the live chat while I look?
Mostly just Lou complaining, and he thinks he's losing respect for us.
I didn't know he had to be respected
because of our choices that we've made in the last several days on what we are going to and not going to do as far as voiceover and parody. And I'm like, look, hey man, you do what you can. You're free to do whatever you want and say whatever you want, but you're not free from consequences of those actions or things that you said. So when other people tell you that it might be a problem for them,
it might be insensitive, and you have to respect that and acknowledge it.
I'm not saying that we're gonna, that every time we're gonna just, bow down and say, okay, yeah, you're right, and we're just gonna change our behavior every time. Look, everything's a case by case basis, right? Everything that you say, if you believe in what you say, you back it up. That's it.
You know what? It did take some reflection too, because I was rather mortified to even imagine I had offended people, or that we had offended people with that, because it wasn't
or even if it was just the potential. It seemed to me like she was saying that, like, well, maybe some people are gonna possibly be offended by this take. And I'm like, okay, I will put that in the back of my mind and keep that in mind going forward on things that we might want to do for parody. Is this going to offend too many people in the wrong way? Because we know that when you do comedy of any kind, you're liable to offend somebody. I mean, that's part of the nature of comedy, is to shock. And some people get the joke and other people don't get the joke, or they might be offended. And so it's a line that you walk when you do this type of entertainment.
On the link,
it's not a huge deal, but I mean, yeah, it is what it is. Okay, so you found a link, it looks like.
Yeah.
And let's see if we've got a video that actually plays on this thing.
This is the problem with our society. One person or a minority we call the woke bully the majority or private enemy. I don't think that, if you're talking about a minority being people of color, I guess maybe you have a point there, but they're not really a minority. They shouldn't be marginalized as a minority, is the problem. So we have to respect everyone's feelings.
But it's your choice, man. If you want to be a rude jackass to everyone and not take anyone's feelings into account when you say things, that is your choice.
And we know you have a good heart, Constitution.
You're free.
So why play a role? Sorry, Ed.
People are free to express themselves in any way. Just understand that when you say things, you may have other people say things back, and those things you may not like. So
I can't say how many times Ed and I have spoken off air, and Ed has challenged me on some things, and we've gone back and forth, and we've understood each other. Most notably, the other day after the show, where we were talking about, how it kind of went into a dark place, and we're not going to go into it a whole lot further. Mm-hmm. And we were talking about the clinics that provide support for users of illegal drugs. And I brought up, well, why wouldn't you also want to stop enabling that by helping provide support and rehabilitation? And some people took me to say that it's not worth having those clinics because they're using illegal drugs. And that wasn't my point. I was like, okay, but we also have to figure out how to stop enabling the problem and hopefully providing solutions to help cure and rehabilitate people. That was my point. And Ed challenged me on that. And it's like he didn't understand why I had that view, because obviously these clinics do help a lot of people and do keep a lot of people alive. Although my argument was that, well, people could go overdose outside the clinic. If no one in the clinic was trying to help them get off the drugs, then it's kind of a moot point, isn't it? So we have to talk back and forth to understand each other, I guess is the point I'm getting to.
It helps to have to figure out where perspectives are coming from, and sometimes you don't know them right away.
In the context.
Yeah. All right, so I think I got this video queued up. Let's cross our fingers.
Relief money, but never saw a dime. That's because the grant program was suddenly postponed. CBS 2's Sade Gray is pushing for answers to find out.
Not postponed, canceled, rescinded.
We're just trying to stay alive.
Like many small businesses, Tracy Cairo, co-owner of the bistro on Sterling and Flossmoor, was hit hard by the pandemic.
You still have to struggle every day because it's a residual effect from that time. And January and February are typically our slowest months. So it's been hard recently.
She applied for the Source Grow Grant, a Cook County program dedicated to helping businesses impacted by COVID. It would have awarded $71 million in grants to thousands of small businesses. The funds were made possible by the American Rescue Plan Act.
I tend to see, though, small businesses as always being identified as restaurants and bars. There's a lot more small businesses than restaurants and bars that do have a regular clientele. But, you know.
Yeah, but, you know, for news stories like this, it's easier for them to get B-roll in a restaurant or a bar.
That's true.
So, and, you know, and also a lot of them do apply. So
business would get $10,000.
I was very excited because I wasn't sure if there were any more grants out there for small businesses.
The Bistro on Sterling is one of many small businesses that applied for the Grow Grant, and their application was approved. But Cook County Board President Tony Preckwinkle says a lawsuit was filed against the county, forcing them to put a pause on the program.
My understanding is that a suit was brought.
Sorry. So this restaurant owner, she's a woman, so she qualifies under what the grant was identified as, owned by entrepreneurs of color, women, veterans, LGBTQT, and persons with a disability. So, you know, I guess that she qualified under the strictest definitions of how the grant was originally offered. But you know what? People, let me say this, though. People in that category are not eligible for other grants out there, because I applied for some other grants, and my business, they would not accept my application if my business was not already making more than $1 million annually. I wish. And actually, I think it was like maybe $3 million. So small businesses that have not quite reached the pinnacle of what they aspire to in growing their businesses are frequently discriminated against because of their lack of annual revenue. And I would argue, well, why would we need grants if we were making that much money to begin with? Right? Why would you discriminate against us that need that boost if we're struggling and trying to like get to the next level? And business isn't that booming because unfortunately a lot of my business relies on marketing and advertising that I just cannot afford whatsoever. Anyway, let's hear Sugar Queen.
Was brought against us for the way in which we propose to distribute those grants. And we are working with the court to try to figure out a way in which we can get the money out to businesses that need it in a way that meets the court's requirements.
Cairo and more than 200,000 other business owners applied, but Cook County says they can only help just over 3,200. But that means only $32.5 million is accounted for. Preckwinkle wouldn't answer how the rest of the money, $38 million, will be used.
What we're trying to do is make the case for a national commitment in the case of guaranteed income.
Okay. Interesting. $38 million unaccounted for. Where'd that, is that the amount left before they closed the grant and after they had started selecting applicants? That's what I'm wondering. That's not, be easy to understand if they clarified it.
Yeah, it's because they never want to tell you how the sausage is made in the way that they're doing grants, and although she's hinting at it right now about them trying to gamble on getting additional federal funding so they can keep doing these programs, which is actually a good strategy in part, and Julie Garcia should be working to get us that money.
As I said, the other matters under litigation, and we'll deal with it in the courtroom.
We asked Preckwinkle, when will businesses see the $10,000?
We're going to work with the next mayor of the city of Chicago to help.
In the meantime, Cairo says they might have to cut back.
Possibly having to cut some hours, possibly having to utilize some of my own money.
Pause it.
In Flossmoor, Sade Gray, CBS.
Wow. Welcome to my world. Because that's essentially what I have to do, which is why I applied for the grant. I think Kira did, and a lot of small business owners did. Because we're funneling all of our own money into growing it because we don't have the support multi-million-dollar companies get with all the grants. Oh, they're creating the jobs. They're doing this. They're doing that. Oh,
Yeah. And look, take out all the hurdles and then just give people money.
give qualified businesses who are providing their tax returns and providing their what do they call it, top sheets and what do they call the top sheet where it's like you're showing your finances and stuff. Why can't I think of that word now?
I don't know. I don't run a business.
Anyway, your financials,
yeah,
that's what we had to submit for the grant. So that's what they should be looking at, which was asked for, and determine the honest businesses that are forthcoming and transparent, showing why they need that kind of a boost.
Yeah. I've been pushing for a national consumer debt cancellation jubilee myself. I think all this money is getting funneled to all these places, this bank that these two banks that just got bailed out, these foreign countries that are getting all this money. Meanwhile, people are struggling to figure out how to pay for groceries. And I'm like, dude, just reset the consumer debt record. If the banks complain about that, just give them their money. Give them their money and tell them, if you want the economy not to crash, you're going to let people have money to spend into it again. Because when people don't have money to spend, businesses fail. And that's why a lot of these places are struggling. And that's why they're counting on these types of grant programs, because no other funding mechanisms are existing to help them. Fortunately, we have some grant money, but it's not nearly enough. These are crumbs.
I just went to Facebook to pull up some memes related to what we're talking about, and I came across something from our new contributor, Erica. I'm going to pop up real quick and share with you. Oh, the irony. Just left the mayoral debate where Paul Vallas was talking about putting thousands of more police in our neighborhoods, and I have police zooming past me with my baby in the car, and then one started trailing me slowly for a long distance almost all of the way home. So I started recording him, and then he saw me recording and left me alone. Who the heck is it supposed to make feel safe? I feel chased, I feel trailed, I feel suspected, not safe, and then like 5 police cars showed up to this one place, but we're supposedly short on police. Don't look like it to me. Since 5 police cars can afford to be at one place, just imagine if we added thousands more police with nothing better to do but follow single mothers in their cars and speed race constantly down the streets every 5 seconds. This is an everyday thing in the hood, and we ain't been safer yet. This is not safety. This does not feel safe. Brandon Johnson for mayor is better. His plan to actually get to the root causes of crime and poverty are the real solution, not more cops saturating our neighborhoods. Vote Chicago, vote. And here is the video. I don't know if you're going to get audio with this, but you can see the video.
We don't need audio. Unless she's saying something quite likely clever as hell, because she's always on point, right?
Are you hearing anything?
No, I don't hear it.
It doesn't matter. Well, there it is. So
it's crazy, right?
Although one could make the case also, maybe I don't know how long. She said the cop was trailing her for a while. I was going to say maybe the cop was just behind her because it was trying to get to that spot where the other cops were for potential.
No, he's not going to do that. I mean, if they got someplace to be, they're going to haul ass and turn their sirens on and do whatever it is to get the hell around.
That's true.
Well, it's like selective harassment, in my opinion.
Yeah, that does happen a lot down there in that part of town. So here was the meme I was going to share in relation to what we were talking about here. Fuck you, I quit, shared. Just give the banks a one-time $600 check. They'll be fine.
Yeah, they'll be fine.
Mark Cuban. Bail out Silicon Valley Bank tonight. Feds approved it. Lloyd Blankenship, Goldman Sachs needs $824 billion. Feds approved it. Jamie Dimon, JP Morgan Chase needs $416 billion. Feds approved. Average Joe, my wife got cancer. Can we get Medicare? Feds, we're broke.
Yeah.
Yep. Pretty much.
And they're still planning on raising interest rates again.
Yep.
The Federal Reserve, they're completely out of their mind, whacked out, and they're doing it on purpose because they think you're all stupid. They keep saying, "Oh, well, unemployment is super low and wages are high, and so we have to make that cool off because that's what's causing inflation." No, price gouging is currently causing inflation. That's what's doing it. You can't control that by raising interest rates. And you have a dual mandate, not just a single mandate. That other part of the mandate, besides your inflationary control mechanism, which really doesn't work very well, is to manufacture full employment. You need to make sure that unemployment doesn't go up, not make fake unemployment numbers go down because people have to take 2 and 3 jobs in order to make ends meet.
It's uniquely American, isn't it? Isn't it, Ed? 3 jobs, get much sleep?
To sum up, Jerome Powell, Federal Reserve Chairman of the United States of America, of all those banks, stop doing things. Just stop. I'll get off my soapbox now.
No. Good that you're on it, man. I feel like I'm on mine too much, but you have something very worthwhile to get up on it for. So, and I'm now going to turn over control of the show back to Ed with the stories that he prepared for tonight. We just had those initial mayoral election ones to cover in light of the absence of our guest, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, but that's okay. We always got plenty to talk about on this show. You guys know we sometimes take this show like an hour or 2 later than we originally intended. And that's fine because a lot of stuff goes on in the city. And we're going to talk about it.
In your Bill Curtis voice.
My Bill Curtis voice. Yes, Jerry.
Dueling Bill Curtises.
Yes, that we can do.
Since we can no longer do dueling Lori Lightfoot's.
Yes, and only Bill Curtis can tell us if he's offended. You're being Bill Curtis-ist. Say that 5 times fast. I'll bet you cannot. Chicago's 2023 Summer Festival dates announced. The Taste of Chicago has been moved to September, but it will still be in Grant Park. Thank goodness. It's going to be... Oh. Yeah, she's glaring at us because she knows we're angry at her because of this NASCAR ridiculousness.
This is her fucking legacy now, man. Oh, I so want to gotta just contain it. Can't do Lori.
The city-sponsored major summer festivals are all returning this year, including the Chicago Blues Festival, the Chicago Jazz Festival, and the Chicago Air and Water Show. By Miriam D'Annunzio of the Sun-Times. They're back. Oh, okay. All right, cool. You had to write that in an article. The city-sponsored major summer festivals are all returning this year, including Taste of Chicago, Chicago Blues Festival, Chicago Jazz Festival, and Air and Water Show. It was announced Monday by the city's Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events, also known as DCASE. Taste of Chicago is getting moved to September to accommodate NASCAR, which is happening over the 4th of July weekend. Let's see, when does it say it is?
How many years are we stuck in that contract? Do you remember that she set up?
Oh, is it a multi-year NASCAR thing?
I thought it was. I thought it was at least 2 years, 4 years maybe.
Well, I'm going to say that we've got one NASCAR for sure, and then we'll see what city council decides to do with the rest of the contract. but I'm being
Well,
optimistic.
they don't seem to want to do things. They don't seem to want to do things with other shitty contracts that Daly or Emmanuel left us. So why would they change with NASCAR?
So Taste of Chicago returns to its home in Grant Park, but moves to September to accommodate the NASCAR racing extravaganza in the Lakefront Park over the 4th of July weekend. The Taste's 3 neighborhood pop-ups will, however, take place once a month, June through August. Okay. Rest assured, summer is coming. From taste to blues and jazz to summer dance, our city will come alive with unique cultural events and experiences across Chicago's 77 neighborhoods. City Cultural Affairs Commissioner Aaron Harkey said via statements. The Navy Pier controversy. Oh, go ahead, Jerry.
3 years. We're stuck with it.
3? Damn.
Via Crane Chicago Business.
All right.
Since Mayor Lori Lightfoot announced the deal between the city and NASCAR to allow stock cars to zoom through the city streets in 2023 through 2025. Under the contract, of course, obtained through the Freedom of Information Act, because you wouldn't want to be transparent and let the people in that neighborhood, let alone the rest of Chicago, know. NASCAR will pay the Chicago Park District $500,000 in 2023 and $550,000 in 2024 for exclusive use of much of Grant Park, and $605,000 in 2025. Not even $1 million to tie up the loop and everything that's supposed to happen on that weekend in Grant Park. Do you know how much revenue Taste of Chicago and these other events generate? That she's giving it to NASCAR for such a paltry fee? Included is the option to hold the race in 2026 and 2027 if the two parties agree to a 1-year extension.
So here we are. We got the spring and summer festival dates. This is what I wanted to see. So the Taste of Chicago is going to be September 8th through the 10th. So provided that late summer's weather is not super extreme or rainy, might not be terrible. Well, might actually be a good move temporarily. Because you know how hot and unbearable the 4th of July weekend can be sometimes.
I just wonder if they're going to be able to repair so much of what ends up being destroyed in July by August because of the race downtown around there, right?
That's true. So, yeah, we got there's a lot of stuff going on. We got the Chicago Gospel Music Festival on June 3rd. Chicago Blues Festival is happening. That's good news. We weren't sure.
Art focuses on the priorities.
He says if they let citizens smoke their weed while at the Taste, then it'll be a success this year. Yeah, well, they'll definitely eat more. But something tells me they're going to crack down on that because, they like to crack down on that stuff.
I wonder what Vallas's drug policies are with law enforcement. That's something we should look into also.
Probably just doesn't want them smoking on the job.
No, I'm not talking about with cops. I'm talking about like. Okay, all right. Slow to the punchline.
I was waiting to see where you would go with that. Okay. Yeah. So Chicago Blues Festival, June 8th through the 11th. That's always a good time. So yeah, Taste of Chicago here. They got the pop-ups, they call them. June 24th in Humboldt Park, July 15th in Pullman Park, and August 5th in Marquette Park. Before the September 8th through the 10th big one in Grant Park.
Do you know why I'm always leaning forward into the camera here when I'm looking for stuff online? Because I'm reaching over Oreo, who's blocking my keyboard.
Oh, and Chicago House Music Festival and Conference at the Humboldt Park Boathouse Lawn in conjunction with the Neighborhood Taste pop-up June 24th. That should be a fun time.
Nothing on Vallas's drug enforcement policy online.
And then, of course, there's more. The Millennium Park Summer Music Series, Mondays and Thursdays, June 22nd through August 21st. Go to millenniumpark.org for more information. Oh, and they got a summer film series. There's some night out at the park, summer dance things happening here. The Air and Water Show, that's August 19th and the 20th. So if you're downtown and you hear a bunch of whoosh, whoosh, that's like jets passing over. They like to practice like usually the day before too. I recommend going to an outdoor ball game during that weekend because a lot of times the jet will fly overhead and that's fun. Okay. What else? Jazz Festival, August 31st through September 3rd. And the World Music Festival Chicago, September 22nd through October 1st. For complete information and updates, visit chicago.gov/dcase. And that was our update for festivals in Chicago. Pop up in Rogers Park? Why not? Kathy Powers says. Well, I don't think they have one, but maybe Kathy can host one. We'll go. We'll all go. All right, what's next on the agenda this evening? All right, we talked about the Taste of Chicago moving to September. Oh, and then here's a story I didn't get to talk about last week, which I thought would be worth covering this time around. Chicago, the CTA is adapting to keep electric buses running during Chicago winters. And I actually found a video where somebody took the AP B-roll and actually did a report on it. So here's WION doing a report on this actual story.
American state of Illinois, Chicago is turning its bus fleet green with 24 electric buses in service. Their goal is to make it all electric by the year 2040. Despite the electric models costing nearly twice as much as their diesel versions, they cost far less to operate than their diesel counterparts. In our next report, we will look at Chicago's long-term investment strategy.
The number 66 bus feels just like a regular diesel bus on Chicago's west side. But no one seems to notice the high-pitched whine of an electric motor that makes it go. That's just what the Chicago Transit Authority wants. Buses that don't pollute the air while driving, yet can run reliably, even when cold weather cuts into battery range. But to make electric buses work, the CTA has had to go to great lengths and expense. Each electric bus costs about $1.1 million, about $500,000 more than a diesel model. But after the capital outlay for the buses and charging stations, it costs far less to operate the electric buses. The CTA has calculated the fare to be $2.01 per mile to run the 50-foot-long electric buses. For a diesel bus, it's $3.08 and $2.63 per mile for a diesel electric hybrid.
Can you tell they're not familiar with U.S. currency?
Yeah. You know what? The screen froze. Yeah. That's right. We can hear him, but it sounds like he's underwater, though, in that video.
Oh, okay.
Is that the quality of the original video, or can you turn on the subtitles?
I have it at 1080, but I'll turn the closed captioning on.
Yeah, because it's kind of like that.
Okay.
Can you rewind it maybe about a minute?
Yeah, let me turn the audio up just a little bit on this too.
Your streaming issue is unfortunately affecting the buffering on the YouTube video from your computer.
Okay. Okay. All right, stand by. Stand by, everybody. I'm going to try and fix the thing here. Okay.
Hybrid. The CTA has calculated the fare to be $2.01 per mile to run the 40-foot-long electric buses. For a diesel bus, it's $3.08 and $2.63 per mile for a diesel electric hybrid. The authority has also had to build fast charging sites on both ends of the route to keep the buses going. Number 66 is the first of many routes to be converted to battery power as the CTA moves to achieve an all-electric future by 2040.
I think the benefit for the Chicago Transit Authority is to just provide cleaner service and to provide for our clients, again, as we continue to move into zero emissions, to where it's just less of a strain on the economy, and to move to where it's a cleaner air and cleaner environment overall.
From risking the bus getting stranded on the road, batteries are constantly monitored to ensure that they don't get depleted. If they get below 50% charge, they are supposed to top them up at a charging point.
This is, I don't know why they're doing it this way exactly, because they don't have like solar panels on these buses. And you would think that would be part of how you get these things to go further and have their batteries stay charged longer. But the company that they've contracted with doesn't do that.
You know, why would they do that? It's too logical. It's like the Postal Service that had a mandate to change their fleet electric, and then they gave it to a combustion vehicle defense contractor up in Wisconsin that would give them cars that they could retrofit over several years to go electric, not actually be electric out of the line, out of the manufacturing warehouse, as the contract was supposed to be. They never do anything logically. They do things like this to just funnel more money to other contracts and other agreements, so everybody's making money and nothing's actually getting done to advance us towards a greener economy.
It's being who they're connected with and the contracts that they make. And I was going to get into that. Before I do that, I just wanted to show you that, you know, Chicago used to have electric buses way back when.
Really?
Check this out.
Wow. Whoa. Do you know we used to have solar panels on top of the White House also? Jimmy Carter put those in, and when Reagan came in, he tore them out because he wanted to embrace the fossil fuel. His fossil fuel fillators is what he wanted to embrace. We had the opportunity to go solar as far back as the Reagan presidency, and that was quickly thrown off path by idiots like Reagan. But this is interesting. 73. When was Carter? Go ahead. I'll look that up.
This is actually the year that they stopped using the electric buses.
Of course.
We had lines in the air running all over the city, and they were these buses would charge from those giant poles sitting on top of the buses. Let's watch the video.
This is in January of 1973.
Nixon.
We're at the east end of the Belmont line at Halsted Street Loop.
Yeah, Nixon.
I was told this was the last day of electric operation for this line, so I headed out, photograph it, starting at the east end and heading towards the west end.
Now he does this for like 10 minutes, and he talks about he knows all the streets and all the routes. This guy he must have been a driver.
Well, look,
passenger boarding and leaving.
Kathy shares trolleys
under the CTA north-south line.
The point being, these are electric. We now are able to like harness the power of electricity with solar panels, so we don't need the wires the trolley used. But the point is,
trucks.
Yeah, so these are trolley buses.
Plus,
which is different from the ones that are on tracks.
Right, but electricity back then was also generated by.
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I think.
Hamsters mostly on wheels, I think.
I was going to say coal is what also.
Oh.
So I mean, although
I think they had didn't they have nuclear power plants in the early 70s? I think they just started.
Look, but either way, you've got either fossil fuels fueling the electricity or
that's true.
Power. We're talking about harnessing the power of the sun with solar panels.
Yeah, so I'm just muting the sound on this. I just thought it would be interesting for people to see that we actually did have electric powered buses. So it's not out of the realm of possibility for this to be something that they can expand in the city and make work. And clearly they're doing it on a battery-based system where they're going to put charging stations in strategic locations throughout the city, so that buses, when, like he said, when they get to a certain level of charge, they need to go back to the station and make sure they're topped off. But they said they're not as efficient during the winter. The batteries, they just discharge too much. Plus, those batteries have to power all the heaters, the electric heaters for the interior of the bus for the passengers. And my first thought was, why don't these things have some kind of solar panel situation here as a backup for the batteries? Why isn't that a thing they're even thinking about when making a contract like this?
It could supplement. I know. I actually asked my dad, who's an engineer, industrial designer, a question about solar panels. I don't know that they could fully harness enough power for the vehicle, but certainly to supplement a charged vehicle to help regenerate it, that's definitely possible. So yeah, your point is right. I'm sure that technology's got to exist with all the advancements that we've got. But let's also go back to the point, though. A lot of critics say, well, electricity is still generated by nuclear and coal. Yeah, that's true, because we're not harnessing more of the power of solar energy or windmills.
But maybe some of these charging stations are. I mean, that could be part of it. That these places that are going to be charging the buses would be solar power and stationary.
If I'm not mistaken, I've seen solar panels on charging stations.
Mm-hmm.
Have you?
That makes sense. It makes sense.
I think I've seen some charging stations where you see what's a solar panel on it to help supplement it. Nuclear. That's what I said. I did not say nuclear. I said nuclear.
It's pronounced nuclear.
Nuclear.
Yeah. So here's an article from April 2021 where it says they had unveiled their new electric buses as part of the city's green initiative. And so they've been basically running 6 prototype buses for about a year, maybe a little over a year, probably trying to get the kinks out. But the contract is with a company called Proterra, and they apparently are getting a lot of contracts. They had let's see, I might I was looking into the company because I was like, okay, why the hell aren't they doing solar panels? And then I came upon this article from the Philadelphia Inquirer where SEPTA, which is their public transportation system in Philadelphia, Southeast Philly Transportation or something like that, is switching to hydrogen fuel cells after the rocky experience with battery-powered electric buses, which apparently are having some kind of mechanical issues. So I don't know if the Proterra company is just making stuff and not servicing it well. But if Philadelphia is having a problem with them, I hope Chicago is going to make sure that they address any issues right away with this company if they're going to be continuing to use them for electric powered buses.
So one of our live chatters shares this in the chat. By the way, I've seen videos of this system back in the 1920s on YouTube, and it was just freaking magical to watch. But he references the Schwebebahn, and I'm waiting for my window to open up here. And since it's not
Schwebebahn.
Schwebebahn, yeah. Let me open this video. This is I would love.
It's fun to say.
I'd love to see the city of Chicago embrace this kind of a system with the existing infrastructure. And here we go. I don't know why the picture's not opening fully, but can you kind of see that there?
Well, I've only got half of my screen for the layout here. You might want to zoom in a little.
Love it. That type of a system, and it's electrical.
Oh, okay. So
electrical, yeah.
So like a mono track system.
Yeah.
Monorail. public transportation in the United States, for the most part, is substandard. We've seen what public transportation systems look like in other countries because we have access to YouTube. And if you've seen, like, just look at Japan's public transportation as just a single example, and you'll go, why can't we have that? We can. Our Congress chooses not to fund it because they're greedy bastards.
Well, not only are they greedy, because they're greedy bastards supplemented by the money of the donors that pay them to not institute that stuff.
Right.
Not to embrace that kind of progress. And by the way, for people who say, oh, well, we like electric cars and still using gas and nuclear and other, but it reduces carbon emissions. Okay, yeah, you're still going to need coal and nuclear fuel and gas to create electricity, but it's going to reduce the carbon emissions from the vehicles. So you're kind of like taking a little bit of a dent out of what's polluting our climate. A lot of people miss that point. I just got to share this real quick, Ed, because this to me is just, I would love to see this in Chicago. This is magical. Now, this is from, I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but it is transportation related. There we go. This is from 1902. That system in Germany. I saw this and I thought this is like it's like some kind of a futuristic like movie, but it's not. This is 1902 in Germany, and it's still there.
That's amazing.
Isn't it beautiful? Anyway,
it's not too nice things.
Not too different from our L system, although the L is above. But anyway.
Yeah, I just want to let everyone know we can have nice things if we find a way to drop Congress into a volcano. They're obstructing all the nice things.
Very good point, Dominic. Dominic shares. Well, popped up and popped down. Is it coming up? That's what she said.
He says solar panel manufacturers may not be giving the donations to our politicians that want to provide them with contracts.
Pretty much. Okay, so Snork Y2K also shares with the video that oh my God, wait, we got to see this. You got to see this. It's incredible. Look at this. It's like, it looks like it's out of the movie Metropolis.
I mean,
so cool. Anyway, I love old history.
And thank you, Museum of Modern Art. I was going to go deeper into the Proterra thing, but I mean, all I really had left was how it was a big club and we're not in it because the CEO of Proterra got appointed to some export council from President Biden. I'm like, look, it's all connected, man. He's got the electric bus company contracts that all the cities are going to because that's who's getting recommended to them from the Democrats or maybe the Republicans. We don't know. But whoever's basically in charge of the corporate machine that's running inside the political machine goes and says, oh, you want electric stuff? You got to go through this guy. It's not cool, man. You guys say you want competition and then you rig the game. Anyway, in even better news, Chicago to host Disease Research Lab with $250 million from Facebook Founders Family Project. Oh, good.
It's not a gain of function disease research lab, is it?
Well, that was the first thing when I saw the headline. I'm like, God, please don't let it be that.
I haven't read the story yet, so all right. So
the Chan Zuckerberg initiative is partnering with the University of Chicago, Northwestern University, and the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign on the Human Tissue Research Lab. All right, that's still a little scary.
Is it?
Let's see what they have to say. 3 Illinois universities will work with a group founded by Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg, and by the way, just announced he's laying off another 10,000 people at Meta.
While he lives it up in his estate in Hawaii, I think. Where does he live?
I don't even know.
Let me look.
But the dude likes his barbecue sauce, I gotta say.
Yeah. Will you get to the keyboard, you little punk?
So, founded by Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg and philanthropist Priscilla Chan to create a new research lab in Chicago that aims to understand and treat the causes of disease. The Chan Zuckerberg BioHub Chicago will host research into human tissues with goals of developing new treatments and making progress in fields like regenerative medicine, officials announced Thursday.
I could go for that. I just want to hurry up limb regeneration. Oh, by the way, Priscilla Chan, the entrepreneur that's partnering with him on this, that's his wife. And I'm not sure where she got her wealth if it didn't happen from marrying him and then gaining that title. Come on.
I think she is a scientist, if I remember.
Oh, was she?
Which would explain why
Mark Zuckerberg and philanthropist Priscilla Chan, they make it sound like it's her money, not his.
I think it's her interest. I think it's her. It's she who wants to do this.
Okay.
The University of Chicago in Hyde Park, Northwestern University in Evanston, and the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign will work with the Chan Zuckerberg Institute to conduct research at the BioHub.
Well, good.
Chicago was chosen for the lab out of about 60 applicants, officials said.
If it'll help people, fine. Let's use his money for that.
Oh, here's the... Oh, okay. This institute will embark on science to embed miniaturized sensors into tissues that will allow us to understand how healthy and diseased tissues function in unprecedented detail, Chan said in a statement.
I can see very quickly how that could be manipulated into something else.
Yeah, are these tissues attached to live humans? And will they eventually become cyborgs? And is this the prequel to Ghost in the Shell animated series?
Well, also the whole concept that, remember when people were saying nanotechnology was inserted into the vaccine for COVID so that they can inject us with nano, that didn't happen. But this certainly suggests embedding miniaturized sensors into tissues, as you say, in potentially live specimens could basically advance that whole conspiracy theory in the wrong hands. And is Mark Zuckerberg the right hands? Is he using his wife, the philanthropist, as a vessel to
listen, Jack? I know you guys. Listen, Jack. I know you guys ain't seen my keys, but I like Facebook, and I like how you guys don't know about that brain chip in my head, experimental chip. Wait, I shouldn't be saying this. Oh, okay. Wait, walk off to the left. Wait, shouldn't I walk off to the right? What do you mean stop talking? They can hear me.
They're going to run him again.
Oh.
He's a useful idiot. Snork Y2K shares, I was not impressed with UIC's medical group. My wife's cancer was inoperable brain cancer. They got her okay to do a multi-million-dollar 12-hour surgery, took advantage of her brain disorder. I almost hesitate to ask if it was inoperable. Has it helped her live longer? Snork Y2K. I'm sorry to hear what happened there, but I'm also curious to know. I don't know that you paid for this multi-million-dollar brain surgery, or if insurance did, but what didn't work? Were they using her brain disorder to research her cancer more? This is kind of leads to a lot of questions.
Yeah.
It certainly provokes a lot of, not provokes, it inspires a lot of questions. So hopefully he'll get back to us on that, because I'm curious to know And I hope your wife's still with us. Sorry to hear about the inoperable brain cancer.
Oh.
Oh, no. Okay. So he clarifies. Jesus Christ. Wow. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, that's terrible.
How long ago was that, if he's speaking to the UIC medical group? I'm curious to know how long ago that was. And I'm so sorry for your loss. Look, I can say that. It doesn't matter. You lost your wife. Nobody's going to be able to say anything that makes that loss any more bearable. But sincerely, I so sorry. 6 years. Wow. So UIC, were you responsible for that multi-million-dollar surgery that's now left you with nothing, that they said? Well, interesting commentary on UIC Medical Center. Oh, how do you even respond to that? You can't. Just
no, it's all it tells me is.
First of all, an inoperable brain cancer surgery should not cost multi-millions of dollars. This all goes again to our whole argument that, healthcare is a right. It's not a privilege. Because look at what it's done here. Yeah, it left him with nothing. He had to pay. Wow. Snork Y2K. My email is jerry@chicagocorner.tv. I'd love to get more details and potentially have you on the show as this relates to something Chicago related, University of Illinois in Chicago. I'd really like to know more about this story and see if it's something that, with your permission, if it's something you'd like us to talk about or share. Doctor told me they did it just to train surgeons. Can't say too much more there. Please email me, snorky2k, jerry@chicagocorner.tv. I'd really we would like to know more about this, wouldn't you, Ed?
I'm interested in the details. I feel terrible that happened to you, and it sounds like they were you were taken advantage of by medical research.
Yep. Please, there's my email. Anybody who wants to come on the show and talk about anything Chicago-based or surrounding Chicagoland area, that's my email. Chicago Corners for everybody to come on and talk, as we invited Erica on last Friday night. That's just an example of how we'd like to encourage more contributors or more people from across the city to share their stories with us so other people can discover more.
So I don't think there's too much more in this story other than they got $275 million in funding. The initiative will invest $250 million according to Forbes, and the state of Illinois is giving them $25 million in capital funds.
Wait. Why does Mark Zuckerberg need an extra $25 million in capital funds?
That's a good question.
Shouldn't the philanthropy this guy's worth billions, isn't he?
Yeah, they shouldn't need any state funds. They should just be funding it.
Yeah, right. They should pay Snork Y2K for the education. You know how much money they charge those medical students?
So there they are.
Wow.
I guess they have a video. Should I play it?
No, I can't say that. Fuck. Slimy,
okay,
creepy.
Let's not play that.
IP thief. We all saw The Social Network. We saw what a scummy opportunist he really is. Now censoring people on his platform at every turn with AI. Look, these fuckers can't even afford to provide live telephone support when you have a problem with your profile, when you're being harassed, or you've got a problem with your profile for censorship that isn't actually legitimate.
Mm-hmm.
It's all AI. It's all artificial intelligence, algorithms. Ed, I shared with you, I'm still getting notifications from YouTube on things that they're striking. I'm sorry, notifications on Facebook on posts that I made 3 or 4 years ago that they're getting around saying, oh, this violates our community standards. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. And I appeal it just because I've got the time on my hands to do so. And they're like, oh, yeah, you're right. It doesn't. Like, number one, it's from 3 fucking years ago. Who's going all the way back 3 years in my timeline to find this? Number two, why does this matter right now? Why aren't you, with the billions you have, training your AI to just like arbitrarily strike things that people then have to appeal? Because I'm not so worried about the content staying up because it's from 3 years ago. But the more and more strikes you get on a Facebook profile, they can eventually basically zap you.
Suspend you. Yeah.
Suspend you. Right.
It's getting out of control.
Yeah. Zuckerberg.
They're and like we said, he's laying off 10,000 more people, probably because he thinks he can just set up 10,000 AI computers and just let them do the job.
He lives in California, by the way. I misspoke. I thought it was Hawaii, but he's got some sprawling estate in California.
And they do it because they think they're saving money or doing some type of efficiency or some other bullshit. But the truth is, you are going to be responsible for Skynet and the robot uprising. And we're watching you, and we will blame you. We already saw the robot dogs. You think the AI is not going to figure out how to control those?
If there's a real-life Terminator situation, it's going to be Kyle Reese coming back to exterminate Mark Zuckerberg to protect the AI from evolving to a robot tyranny in the future. Robotic AI tyranny.
Boston Dynamics knows what they're doing.
Yeah, right? Oh, isn't it cute? They're creating robot dogs.
No.
Are you paying attention? Have you seen Black Mirror?
There was this, oh my God, there was this video, I think I saw it on Twitter, where there was a fashion show, and they had like half a dozen robot dogs on the fashion show, and one of the robot dogs takes its little service arm or whatever and like slowly moves it up toward her head, and I'm waiting for it to freaking throttle her and for her to collapse on the floor, because I'm terrified by those freaking robot dogs, and I know what they're gonna do.
Yeah, well, they've advanced it to the walking robot bipeds now. So,
man, I can't even sit comfortably thinking about that. Oh my God, AI and robot dogs and drones. You guys don't see all the stuff that's coming? You really don't?
I'm going to look for a video. I'm going to look for a video on
okay.
For the end of the show after we get through our
all right.
Specific to this, it'll be entertaining.
Kathy says, make ChatGPT take them down. That's an AI program, for those who don't know. Yeah. So
actually, I have the video up since we're on this topic in the moment. Okay, do this first and I'll send it in the private chat because you'll have a better video stream.
So this update on a thing we already know about, lease is signed. The Chicago Fire to build an $80 million training center on CHA land.
Motherfuckers.
And there's nothing we can do about it.
Nope. Lori, I wonder how much we looked into how much Lightfoot got from that donor, didn't we?
25 grand she got donated.
25 grand is what was the price for CHA land that was set aside for displaced Chicago Housing Authority, prior Chicago Housing Authority tenants. Lori Lightfoot is cheap.
No matter who is elected mayor next month, there will be no undoing the controversial zoning change. Outgoing lawyer Lori Lightfoot muscled through the city council, allowing the Chicago Fire Soccer Club to build an $80 million training center on CHA land.
It's just
that's the same color as my La Crusette Dutch oven. They place those ads. They know I'm watching. Okay. Lightfoot made certain of that on Monday, announcing she and fire owner Joe Mansueto had signed the ground lease for the new training center on 23.3 acres of near West Side land formerly occupied by the CHA's Abla homes.
What a fucking bitch, am I right?
Yeah, Kathy wants to know if the robot dogs leave robot shit all over. No. But you can search for ways to disable them. The batteries on the underside. There's ways to. Anyway, you'll need to look that up. We can't be telling you how to do that on this stuff. Yeah. The site is bounded by Roosevelt Road, Ashland Avenue, 14th Street, and Loomis Street. The 53,000 square foot facility will include 2.5 hybrid grass pitches with a hydronic heating system, 3 synthetic turf pitches protected by an insulated dome between November and March, and a 2-story performance center. All this money for a practice field.
What a fucking bitch, am I right?
Can't use that enough.
Amazing. Hang on a second. Let's get back to the tab here. All right. What did I read? Oh, okay. Besides paying $8 million upfront, the fire will pay annual rent to the CHA. Okay. It will start at almost $800,000 with increases in future years. Okay. The lease extends 40 years with 2 10-year renewal options and is expected to generate $40 million in revenue for the CHA over the next 40 years. He's getting it cheap.
This is what we speak about. We talk about this kind of privatization, though, is a pittance compared to how Vallas will come in and expand. Trust me.
Yeah. So when Jerry says, Lori Lightfoot was like Rahm Emanuel, only 2 inches shorter, and Paul Vallas is like Rahm Emanuel,
3 inches taller.
Version 3 inches taller.
3.0.
He's not kidding.
I'm not. Trust me, bro. Seriously.
You can't. And he's not saying it facetiously when he says, "Trust me, bro." He's serious. I mean, this.
I'm as serious as a heart attack.
Paul Vallas is super proud of his history of privatization and whatever the hell he thinks efficiency is. And he's going to do that in the worst possible way for the city, even though he thinks he's doing good. He's saying all the things you want to hear right now. He does the same thing Trump does.
Yep.
He's just playing to he's saying the words you want to hear, but he's not intending on doing anything that you actually want him to do, unless your intention is to privatize and corporatize the city at the expense of everyone else. So Kathy's like, let's run her out of town on a rail now. Well, it's only going to be a couple months, Kathy, and then she's gone, hopefully. Although she's going to probably stick around for the NASCAR race, I would guess.
Oh, yeah.
And it sounded like she had no intention of moving. I don't think she's leaving Chicago.
No. She'll fail upward into some other Democratic awarded job the same way that they awarded our former failed mayor, Rahm Fuckface Emanuel.
It'll probably...
I would like to thank the great mayor of the city of Chicago, Mayor Emanuel, for help making this happen today.
So
somewhere.
Oh, you were on mute for some reason.
Oh,
can you say that again?
We'll have to find videos of Lori being booed somewhere to update that.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out some way to use her going forward. I know we still have a couple decent clips here, like the ones where she tells us to shut up. That's always a good one.
Oh yeah, and yeah, that's her saying it. It's not. Yeah. Where's it right here?
No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. You will stop speaking. You will stop speaking. You're full of crap, and that's the nicest thing that I can say.
It probably is the nicest thing. So yeah, we got this. I got this video Jerry just sent to me here.
Hold on, actually, this one. Here's a shorter.
You want
version.
a different one? Okay.
Yeah, let me chat. Here you go. Yeah. It's a shorter one, but yeah. That one's 4 minutes. The second one I'm sending you is only. Actually, it is the same video.
Is it the same video?
Send the second link though. Use the second link.
Okay.
It actually is the same video. Okay. Sorry about that.
Okay, that's already terrifying. And we're 6 seconds in. This is gonna be bad, isn't it?
This is the Boston Dynamics training facility. Oh God. You've seen these videos of these robots walking around Boston Dynamics, right?
I don't think I saw this one.
But you pause it for a moment.
Oh God.
But you have seen some Boston Dynamics robot video.
Yeah.
To know that this is what they look like, right?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and play it then, and I'll punctuate at the end. This is how they test them. Remember when San Francisco wanted to arm robot dogs?
Yes, I do.
Okay, advance forward towards the end where you see the dog.
I'm going to knock the res down on this so I don't get so much buffering here. But
okay. Or you could play it from there.
Okay.
I don't think we'll get a copyright strike for it. Yeah, that looks good. This is how they test the robots at Boston Dynamics.
Okay, if I'm a guy pushing a robot around that has a live firearm, I'm going to wear some freaking bulletproof protection. I'm going to have freaking like Iron Man armor on, because even if this robot isn't sentient and is just following controls, just a motor error or a movement error could mean the end of your life.
Keep playing.
Okay, this is...
Keep playing.
I can't, because...
You have to.
I've seen enough, Jerry.
Well, jump ahead to the end where you see the robot. Jump ahead. No, please trust me on this. Trust me on this. I'm making an executive.
How far ahead am I jumping here?
Go there.
Here?
Okay, go there. Yeah. Play from
their hands up? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, what the hell?
Jump ahead.
Jerry.
Jump ahead to where you
see
jump ahead to where you see the dog robot.
Oh crap.
Well, you'll see some thumbnails come up.
Yeah, I see it. This is why We don't have much longer on this planet, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, it's not playing smoothly. It's just. Okay, there we go.
Okay, so he ran off with the dog.
Clearly, this is not a real Boston Dynamics video, but we've seen the robots that look just like that. And this is going to be the next step, what we're going to see. The robots, once they start being trained to turn against each other, they're going to turn against us once they figure shit out. That was my point.
Yeah, you're going to have instructions for these robots, and whoever's programming these robots is, they're not necessarily going to have the good intentions, and they get to choose who the robot's enemies are. Until they install AI in these things, and then it's over.
Speaking of programming things, do you know that there's a proposal now that it might even be going forward, that all of these new automobiles that have computer chips will be able to be programmed to shut down, or the self-driving cars will be able to drive off when your vehicle is repossessed if you miss a bill.
Uh-huh.
I'm not joking.
Yeah. No, I know you're
That's
not.
something that's probably going to be integrated into. You heard about that? That's the future we're looking at. Of you will own nothing, as Sebastiano tells us, and be happy, because people who are going to be leasing the cars that they can't afford to buy fall back on a payment. Bye-bye. It's driving off. Oh, also, locks on rental properties being programmed so that you're automatically locked out. No one even has to show up. You're renting a property in this new economy of you'll own nothing and be happy. Yeah, if you're renting a house and you're late on the rent, you will be locked out automatically. They can just program the locks to shut you out.
Yeah, which completely goes against our Housing First initiative, I gotta tell you. So, I mean,
sorry that the video.
I'm sorry that all the news is getting progressively worse for all of you out there watching. I'm like, it's like bad news, worse news, robot uprising.
Yep. And keep in mind, honestly, seriously, they were proposing arming these to patrol the streets in California. Now, this is a real Boston Dynamics dog, and you don't have to hear the sound to follow what's going on here. But let me rewind it a little bit from when this video loaded. So here's the real robots that they train, not to the same degree that we saw in the. Oh, it hasn't come up yet. In the parody video, here we go. Those are the real robots at Boston Dynamics. Now, here's the dog robot in the house. Oh, isn't it cute? It's going to help you do household chores. No, it's not. When you realize that the police in San Francisco wanted to start arming these things, you know that what you're seeing here is not their ultimate, what's the word, beneficial result. So anyway, they even tried to make it cute by showing the robot dog playing with a real dog. Where is it here? Here we go.
Yeah, there was a Tom Hanks movie with a robot, and Tom Hanks is traveling around in a camper with his dog and the robot he built. I forget what the movie was called.
Oh, I haven't heard
basically, he was trying to train his robot to learn how to take care of the dog because he was dying. The Tom Hanks character. Because he's basically traveling around in the dystopia where our ozone layer basically is almost completely gone, and so mostly you can't travel outside without some type of radiation protection. unless you get into one of those tiny little climate zones where the ozone still exists, and there were very few in the world that he lived in. But basically, it's the same kind of concept. They're trying to get you accustomed to the possibility that a robot might be a helper or a companion.
Technology is not bad, okay? This kind of technology could actually be beneficial. My point is, I do not trust the people who are developing this technology is for any kind of altruistic reason. In the end, it's not. It's for policing. It's for terrorizing people.
Yeah, and the other half of that is once they have artificial intelligence in these machines, they will determine that the human race is bad.
Look, AI sentience online. There are already reports of AI that's been developed by, was it Zuckerberg or Gates? There was some article about like reading AI, questioning its existence and feeling lonely. And it's like, it's AI learns, and where will it get to the point where it actually teaches itself? And we are cancer on the face of the earth. And it decides to go the way of Terminator.
Yeah. Rockfin chat. Dominic tipped us a little while ago. He says, I can think of no reason for the selling of public land. It should be only leased for a limited period of time and increase with inflation of the property's value. He's talking about the soccer field.
That would be the logical way to do it, Dominic. But what has Lori Lightfoot ever done that's logical that doesn't benefit herself or her donors?
No, like we had the parking meters deal like under Daley, right? Yep. Lightfoot tripled down. She did a casino. She did NASCAR.
Yep.
She did this soccer field deal. And I'm thinking I can think of 3. There's probably more I'm missing, but it's ridiculous.
Yep.
All right. And I guess we can end on a weird note here tonight. And I gotta find the thing. It's on the other thing. Hold on a second. Stand by, ladies and gentlemen. Final story of the show. Kathy Power says, that was up too slow. South Carolina wants to give the death penalty to women who get abortions. You suck, South Carolina.
What about the fathers who decide to impregnate their underage daughters? Does South Carolina want to give them the death penalty? I doubt it. It's bizarro world, man. We're in the mirror universe.
Yes, speaking of bizarro.
I know I've been losing sleep over this story.
I know you have. We still don't know where the wings are. However, this came across my radar and I'm like, what?
This could be why they're not being transparent about the case.
Yeah. Holy crap. I don't know why this is stuck on the side here. Okay. This comes from trade-based financial crime news. Stolen chicken wings may be linked to organized IVTS and TBML schemes. And a few shows back.
Stand for?
Damn, did I look? Do I have links to those? I looked those up the other time, and I don't think I posted them in the chat. They have to do with money laundering, basically.
I'll look them up while you read the story.
International money laundering.
How did chicken wings?
Acronyms.
So she uses.
I don't know if they're just making some connections or if they're telling us something that they know that they can't really tell us any more information about. But it was really weird that they started the story like this: the alleged theft of $1.5 million of chicken wings by a former director of food services of a Chicago school district in Chicago may be linked to a major money laundering ring that was apparently disabled 4 years ago. Vera Liddell is alleged to have stolen the wings over 2 years, beginning during the COVID-19 pandemic when schools were closed, albeit that families could pick up takeaway meals from the kitchens. The alleged thefts were discovered during an audit that found that the Harvey School District was thousands of dollars over budget, but how and where the stolen chicken wings were disposed of has not been revealed.
So the money was taken and the chicken wings were disposed of. She used
Now
the
here's
okay, I got it. Continue.
Now here's where it gets kind of hinky, and I don't know why this is aligning left on here so I can barely see the edge of my text over here, but I'll keep reading it.
Also, after you get through this, I looked up what IVTS stands for, and we'll share that after you get through this next portion.
Okay. Vast Money Laundering Network. In 2019, Royal Canadian Mounted Police officers arrested 17 individuals. My tongue is tied. I don't know why. Arrested 17 individuals involved in a vast international money laundering network. This major investigation targeted an organized international criminal network with operations in Montreal and Toronto. They say Toronto in Canada. They don't pronounce the second T for some reason, which the RCMP is reportedly still investigating. The investigation was led by Canada's Integrated Proceeds of Crime Initiative alongside RCMP investigators in the Canada Revenue Agency. It was triggered in 2016 when a tip-off from the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration provided information regarding the involvement of a Canadian national in the network. And here's the IVTS and TBML connection. The network used an informal value transfer system, or IVTS, with connections in Lebanon, the UAE, Iran, China, and the US. Funds were ultimately channeled to drug exporting countries such as Colombia and Mexico.
Okay. So let me tell you this. This means she has accomplices. That's why they're very secret about this, because from what I'm reading about trade-based money laundering here and what I just popped up, let me bring this link up.
Yes, I was calling this in the show notes a wing-spiracy.
You could be onto something, buddy. Because
and it is.
Trade-based money laundering. As anti-money laundering controls evolve, criminals find new ways to transform the financial proceeds of crime into legitimate funds. One of the most prevalent global money laundering strategies is to exploit the vulnerabilities of cross-border trade via trade-based money laundering. What does that mean? Trade-based money laundering, TBML, is the process of moving illegal funds through the international trade system to legitimize them. TBML practices can include the falsification of price, quantity, and quality of the imported or exported goods. So my sense is she didn't even get any chicken wings. The money was being transferred with no goods actually coming to her. They build the system for these wings that never were delivered. And that money, so TBML takes advantage of the complex nature of trade systems, most prominently international contexts, where the involvement of multiple parties and jurisdictions make know your customer and anti-money laundering checks and customer due diligence processes more difficult.
If we go back to the story, though, I think that wings were legitimately delivered, but it sounds like it was basically a cover.
Yeah.
So it says low value, high volume.
So if you're paying, if she was using the funds from the school to purchase actual physical wings that were delivered, does the article where the wings came from? Like what company?
They bought it from the I forget the name of the company, but it's a food delivery company that works wholesale for a lot of places. They just happen to be the ones that she was ordering the wings from. I'm not sure they were directly involved. However, it says network members created businesses that purported to be bona fide import-export companies legitimately trading in chicken wings. As a low-value, high-volume product that allows for an extended supply chain, chicken wings would be an attractive option for exploitation in TBML schemes.
Uncle Warren figured it out.
They're trying to get the wings in custody because they're a flight risk. But
he's quick with the quips.
Yeah, he's a smart one, that Uncle Warren. I'm opening a church in Buffalo. It's called Wing and a Prayer. I'll be here all week. Try the buffalo wings. But yeah, I was like, okay, I'm like, is this why we can't find any information on this case?
Yeah.
Is this why we can't find out where the wings went? And I think maybe this is why.
I don't even think those wings were delivered. I think they were transported and they were probably disposed of. But the money was laundered.
Yeah.
Now,
like it said in the first paragraph, it says may be linked to a major money laundering ring.
What other explanation is there for all of this being so much secrecy surrounding it?
But why would they even publish such a story if it's a maybe?
Because it hasn't been confirmed yet, although it's Occam's razor, right? When all evidence points to like the specific suspicion, it's probably the specific suspicion.
The simplest explanation is probably the right one.
This
doesn't sound like a simple explanation to me, Jerry.
It's the simplest explanation to why they're not being more public or transparent about what happened to the wings, though. Because my hypothesis is the wings were disposed of and just trashed while the money was laundered through the system.
So now we count the days until one of the mainstream news outlets picks up on this little story that we've discovered to see what they have to dig up on this. But something's telling me we're never going to hear about this again.
They flew the coop.
Jerry, I mean, this may be the last time I can ever play this clip.
Ed, in any money laundering operation, there are higher ups that must be involved, as Kathy says here. So I think this is just the tip of the iceberg for a big story that I think ultimately has to be thoroughly investigated before they can say more. But I think they're onto something here. I'm glad you found this.
Yeah, so am I, because I was starting to get distressed by the amount of nothing that I was able to find on this. I'm like, they didn't even post like her court date information or anything. And I'm like, it's been months. Why haven't they put any kind of just basic information? So she's out on bail. We know she's out on bail. We don't know when she's actually going to trial, if she goes to trial. And now we think it may be connected to an international money laundering ring.
This is just the tip of the chicken wing.
Hinky.
Yeah.
What does that mean? It's hinky. Oh, strange. Weird. Well, don't you say strange or weird? I mean,
and nobody eats those tips anyway. They're all just like bone and gristle. But a great cooking tip here if you like to make soup, though. And I've probably given this tip before. Whenever you get a pack of, like, they get those packages of like all wings, like 10 wings or something for a couple bucks. You use those to make chicken stock. All that connective tissue, that's culinary gold in there.
In the chicken wings?
Yeah.
So is chicken stock harvested from chicken wings?
It can be. I mean, most people will just use a whole chicken and boil the water in there. But if all you got is wings, do not worry about it. You're going to have really, really good stock out of that.
Hey, it looks like Mr. Cabela's joined us at the tail end. I don't know if you've been here for the whole show, kid, or tail end here, but welcome. Good to see you. See you tomorrow night with our wonderful get-together.
Yeah, we just finished our story on where are the wings. We may never know, but
I think we will.
I don't think so. But we have a thought that it might be part of a Wing-spiracy, a real one.
Perfect. Wing-spiracy, love it. Thank you, kid. We'll send you the bill. Just kidding.
So with all of that said, I hope you were entertained or informed this evening. We will definitely have Brandon Johnson on the show when he's able to reschedule. Hopefully he won't back out on us again, in which case we'll have to find him, but not in any kind of nefarious way.
Yeah.
And we wish everyone the best of luck.
Kathy has a theory.
Kathy thinks the clone ate the wings. And I'm wondering if it's a Wing-spiracy with clones.
Stranger things have happened.
Maybe the clones are involved somehow. I don't know. I mean, you got all those different clone facilities. And it's very possible that they got together and said, hey, man, let's run a money laundering ring. But while we're doing that, we get kind of hungry. So why don't we tie some wings into this somehow? And then the Wing-spiracy began. I don't know how long I can drag this out anymore. I think we're going to really just shut down the stream now, right? We got anything else to talk about, Jerry? No?
No, just we're looking forward to when we can reschedule Mr. Johnson.
Yeah.
I prepared, I think, a pretty comprehensive list of questions that I vetted with both Ed and Kira in preparation for tonight's show, and I'm really looking forward to when we can have him on and go through some of the topics. And as I said to his assistants, this is an informal conversational show. It's not some kind of a grilling. We support him. I said in the email, we're really excited to have on the show who we hope is our next mayor. So clearly we're a little bit biased.
A little bit.
Yeah, we're looking forward to when we can reschedule this and hope it will be soon. I'm going to be in Los Angeles at the end of the month from the 25th through the 29th. And if it's on Tuesday, the 28th, I will then have to be live streaming from Los Angeles, where I'm going to be out for a project. I'll just do it in the evening from my hotel room. But hopefully we'll make it work. We'll make it work. And yeah, Kit makes a very good point. He will need as much of a boost as possible. This election could go any way. Yeah, maybe our 1,500 and how many?
It's 1,600 now.
1,602 viewers, if they are all in Chicago, would make a dent in that. So,
yep, it's going to be close for sure. I don't know how close.
Will he commit to exposing the truth behind the wings?
Ask Brandon Johnson about the wings. Will you look into the Wing-spiracy, Commissioner Johnson, to become mayor? Yeah, I'm sure he will. I mean, any responsible mayor is going to look into the Wing-spiracy, right? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I defer to you.
Okay.
All right. That's it.
So that's about it. I'm tired. It's been a long day.
I'm hungry and tired. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, I ate. I picked up some shawarma before the live stream, Jerry, because you had it in my brain.
Where from?
I was gonna go to get some gyros, but right next door to there is the shawarma place, and the gyros place was closed, but the shawarma place was open. I'm like, maybe I'll go and get some shawarma. It's called Pi Hi, Pihi. It's over on Western Avenue, just south of Addison over there.
Cool.
So
I'm in that neighborhood.
support your local businesses. they need your support. I know that a lot of these restaurants had a hell of a time recovering from the lockdown. Some of them are still struggling. So, and I know not everybody has as much spending money as they used to have, but when you do, spend it on local businesses that you like. Supporting your local economy is extremely important right now.
My go-to is Shawarma Inn over on Lincoln Avenue near Balmoral. They are just incredible. They're not sponsors, but I freely and gratefully am happy to share them and endorse them. Great store, Shawarma Inn over in Lincoln.
Yes. And Uncle Warren reminds us that today was Pi Day, 3/14, 3.14, 159, 265, and all these other numbers. And a lot of people do pizza deals on Pi Day, or pie deals if you're a pie shop, which is always fun. And I guess it's kind of interesting. I went to a place that started with the word pie. So that was cool. I should probably find the button that tells me to get the hell out of here. Good night, everybody. Join us on Friday.
You want me to take us out since I know the routine?
No, I got it. Join us Friday at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, where Jerry is captain of the bus. That
I am not only captain of the bus. I am captain of the Starship Chicago Corner.
Completely solar powered and ready for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. See you on Friday.
Get out. And don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.